Welcome to Primetime, everybody. This is episode 23, and tonight we are discussing Buffy the Vampire Slayer Season 3. Doing our ranking, and this is going to be part 2, so this is going to be episode 12 to episode 22, and then at the end we will rank all the episodes from 22 to 1. I'm your host, Hunter Chambers. I'm joined by my co-host, Chad and Carrie. How's it going, guys?
I just forgot that we're actually doing the big ranking, and I should have done that prior. So I'm gonna be doing that soon.
That is fine.
Well, discuss it and talk it through based on where we tiered things. So,
All right. So tonight for our tier ranking, we are changing it up. We have 2 S tiers for part 2, and then we have 1 C tier. But then they can go in any other direction, A, B's. More than likely A to B's, because this last half of this season was fucking amazing. I think this might be my favorite season of Buffy I've seen so far.
Nice.
It's up there. It's a great one.
I think
sure.
2 will always be my favorite, but 3 is, it's hard. 3 is really fantastic.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, if you guys are ready, let's get into the official ranking. So we start with episode 12, which is Helpless, and we end on Graduation Day, part 2. We will start with Carrie for her first nomination.
All right, I will start with the first episode.
I knew it.
And it's going to be my S tier, Helpless.
Ooh.
In my S tier.
Wow.
I really love this episode. I think it is very interesting. I don't know, just the concept that Giles has to really betray Buffy in this way, and then that Buffy loses her powers and has to outwit this vampire. Mm-hmm. It's a really devastating one because Giles does betray Buffy, and ultimately he kind of fesses up to it and quits the Watchers Council after or maybe I guess he's fired.
I was about to say, yeah,
but after he kind of he sticks up for her and tries to help her, he's fired from the Watchers Council, but he kind of regains Buffy's trust in the end because mm-hmm. he did that. And it's, I don't know, to me, this is a beautiful episode about their kind of father-daughter relationship that they develop throughout the show. And I don't know, it's just great to see, I think we all know from watching the show this long that Buffy is not just strong physically, but strong mentally and very intelligent and resourceful. But this just goes to prove it.
Yeah.
Jack?
Yeah. This is it's kind of, but not really. The Iron Man 3 a little bit kind of story where, she loses her powers for a bit, and just like Carrie said, she's super resourceful, and you see her without her Iron Man suit. Her powers, and I think it's really interesting because you've never really seen Buffy that way before, except for when the Halloween episode. But that was an entirely different. This is she had all her faculties, and yet still she's just kind of helpless, right? But yeah, I do love the fact that this is Giles trying to go with everything he's been told. He's he's a watcher, but he's like a soldier for this Watchers Council, and they tell him something that is tradition. It's what they all do apparently all the time. But then you have to sit there and question the morals of it, because not only is Buffy endangered by this, but her mom ends up getting in danger as well. And I think like right around then is where Giles like wakes up, like, don't just unquestioningly do everything just in the name of tradition, because sometimes tradition is wrong and it can actually get people hurt. And Carrie's right. Like the big betrayal of Buffy and Giles, like you have to go through things like that, I think, for the relationship just to get stronger. And Buffy and Giles have just such a fantastic relationship that really like works for the series. Without that, I don't think the series is as good. So I can see why Carrie would put this S tier. I think it is really great. Kralik is really scary. I would still probably put it high A tier because it wasn't one that I had in my head as an S tier. But I do love all that, and I love how Giles gets fired, and then he's like, it's almost kind of like who gives a shit about the
Yeah,
Watchers?
what's funny is it changes nothing because Giles is still there. So
Yeah.
on to me for the final decision. I really like this episode. Is it S tier? I do have one for S tier. I don't have another one for S tier. You know what? I'd be okay with Helpless being in the S tier. I think it was a really good opener for this half of the season.
Oh no, is this screwing you over, Chad?
Well, kind of, because you got to go first, and now the S tier, one S tier is gone already.
I'm sorry.
And so now, like, what? Like, I can't just not do the other two.
Okay, well,
So I don't know
just
what to do
nominate
here.
them.
I just
I
can't.
don't know what to tell you.
So I believe with that we are on Chad for his first selection.
All right, I'll go for one S tier, the Prom.
Okay.
What to say about this? The Prom is amazing. I love the episode a lot. It's interesting because it's like it's like a Monster of the Week episode. But it's also one where like the kind of same thing that like where Buffy's like she wants to be like the normal person and have her dance. She wants, Angel to be there and like dance with her, and then you see they're going through a lot of issues about whether the relationship's actually going to work. And it's just like really kind of up in the air, but Angel's having a lot of doubts, and Buffy's like, well, he's right, this might not work. And was it another episode where was who told them about it? Was like another person that told them about a relationship that was like that didn't work out. It was the mayor. The mayor said that his relationship didn't work out because of the age difference, and he's like lives a long time. Because
Watch
of his
her wither away, I think you said.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of that going on, and then Buffy is basically like, well, I'm not going to have a special night, but I'll be damned if this one kid lets everyone else have a shitty night or get killed or whatever. So I'm going to be the Slayer. I'm going to be the thing that I'm supposed to be and nothing else, and I'm going to go and and she does, and she goes and she kills all of these hellhounds, which is a really cool villain or antagonist. And was it Tucker Wells? Is that his name? You right? Tucker Wells, which we'll come back in another way at some point, that character. And what else? Yeah, so really there's just a lot in this episode that I think is fantastic, but really what sells it is the end, where um, Angel shows up is like the first thing. Or wait, no, does she get the award first? So she gets
Yeah.
the award first, which is really great. And that part, I think there's two moments in this that just make me bawl, like cry, big time. It's when she gets the award, because you think that no one really even noticed. Um, and it feels so special when someone actually notices. And then they all give her like a little umbrella award, and it's so special. And it's like, a class protector. And Jonathan gives it to her, and just a very sweet moment. And then one super sweet moment that also really works and makes me cry for a second time is when Angel shows up in his is it a tuxedo or a suit? Tuxedo.
Tux, I believe.
Tuxedo. And then so he does that, and then she's surprised because she didn't think he was going to show up. And even though they're having these, like, will they, won't they kind of thing going on, he shows up for her. They dance to Wild Horses, was about the Sundays, right? Not the Rolling Stones, who originated it. And fun fact, that was also the song that Carrie and I danced to at our wedding
Aw,
because of the show. And
that's awesome.
yeah, it was something special for us as big Buffy fans, because we got together because of Buffy. We had to do that. And I wanted to do the Rolling Stones version, but Carrie insisted that we do it was special because it was Buffy and Angel and the Sundays singing Wild Horses, and it was very special time for us as well. And so it's just a very special episode for a lot of reasons. So yeah, it's an S tier, mostly because of that ending, but I also think it just has a lot of themes that show like why Buffy is our hero and stuff like that. So, but the Helpless is well. So, two great episodes so far. Yeah, S tier.
All right, Carrie, on to you.
Yeah, this was gonna be for a second S tier. This would have been the one I nominated, so I would agree with S tier with this one for all of the reasons that Chad said. I don't think I have much more to add to that.
Okay. That is okay. So Helpless and the Prom.
Oh, one other thing that I can add is the special part where you find out that Xander paid for Cordelia's dress.
That was so nice.
You can go ahead and talk about that if you want, Hunter, or whatever, or the episode in general.
Yeah, I love this episode. To me, I probably would have put it like high A tier, only because I feel like in this one season we had kind of two of the same plot points. It was the homecoming episode where it's the same thing about Buffy having to balance school life and wanting the prom queen thing, and we kind of get the same thing here. But everything you said, I can't disagree with. You know what I mean? I just feel like we kind of saw that two episodes in the same season.
Yeah,
but
makes sense. Yeah. No, I get that, and that's actually why I think, like, sometimes when I think of Homecoming, is that the prom episode? No, the prom is the prom because season 3.
Yeah,
so
they did 2 dance episodes in the same season.
They're very similar, but I think this one just hits so much harder.
Yeah.
So I want to call an audible here, and I want to see what you guys think. Because it is the last half of season 3, what do you guys think about having 3 S tiers this episode?
If there's one you want to nominate, let's discuss it. I'm happy to.
I'd be down for that.
Okay. Because there is one that I want to bring up only because I feel like this is my S tier, and it's like got everything that you want in an episode, which is episode 15, Consequences.
Okay.
The whole idea of, because the previous episode, we find out that, spoiler alert, an actual human, and this episode opens beautifully with Buffy, who is going to fight that guilt of being a split second late. One side of it is like she's having that nightmare and she can't get over, the events out of her head, and she just can't sleep. And then on the other side, Faith has gotten that taste of bloodlust, and she's in this episode. She's conflicting with herself. Should she just move on because it was an accident, she didn't know, or if that bloodlust is going to take over, which is a really good dynamic of Faith's character. Of like, this episode pushes her over that edge of like, once she got that bloodlust, like it never really went away. So the idea of like Buffy on one end feeling guilty even though she didn't commit the act, she was just a split second late, and then Faith, who did the action, who is still kind of in shock and is debating over if this is actually like bloodlust that she's got now, or if it's just her trying to deflect the blame off of somebody else. You know what I mean? So I'd nominate this for S tier. You guys want to go?
You can go first.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So like with Consequences, yeah, this season just has a lot of really great Faith stuff. Faith, Buffy, like we've said before, Faith being kind of that other Slayer that's different from Buffy. She hasn't had the same upbringing. She doesn't have the same personality. So we get to see a different side, not necessarily bad, but maybe more corruptible because she doesn't have that support system behind her.
Mm-hmm.
But also, even I don't know. I don't know if Buffy doesn't have that, how corruptible she is. I mean, I think even when Cordelia, in a sense, tried to corrupt her, she still just ended up gravitating more to Willow and Xander.
Yeah.
Because Cordelia is not very nice at the very beginning.
No,
But yeah,
it's not.
for this episode specifically, I love everything you said. I love everything about this episode that, it shows Buffy struggling. Like it's when you have something like this, like a human being murdered by a Slayer, that the show doesn't just go, oh, well, that's kind of just the way it is. It's a casualty in the Slayer war against vampires. And even though also, I guess they don't necessarily know this, but that was an antagonist character that they took that she killed as well. Doesn't super play into it because it's still a human life.
Well, and he was trying to come to them.
That's true. I forgot about that part.
Kind of give them the lowdown on the mayor.
True.
Who's actually trying to help their side.
Did they know that though?
No, they had no idea.
Yeah,
I
so
mean,
they don't really know who it was, but it was just a human is all they know. And Faith takes the guilt and she turns it into, I don't really care about this. That was it's a part of the job, that shit happens. But the thing about it was that Buffy saw it before it happened, and this was a different episode when it actually happened, but Buffy saw it before it happened, and then said, no, wait, and then it happens, and then it's Buffy trying to say, like, we need to figure out what to do. Like, should we, doesn't she contemplate turning them in, or and then Faith is like, I'll turn you in, but if you turn me in or tell on me, you're gonna be implicated too. And Buffy's the kind of person that would probably just implicate herself, like, we did something wrong and we can't just get away with that, because what's next? There's no consequences. What's next? And I like how they take an episode to go over that and figure out what to do with it, and it's huge. It's a huge deal. But yeah, so it's really good. But I would still probably say personally, because I have another one that I love for S tier as A. But yeah, we'll see what Carrie thinks.
I didn't want it to be left up to me.
Sorry.
I don't know. I'm very conflicted because I feel like we kind of took up the 2 S tier spots really quickly. But this was honestly going to be pretty low for me, actually, because for some reason this episode just isn't one that I really come back to or, immediately think of. I don't know why.
And I would just say, like, don't go with an S tier to please someone else, or like, fine. Go with something you think should be an S tier.
Okay. Well, I would say then like very high A tier. I don't know. It's just one that a lot of this is like.
I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to come up with a C, to be honest. I'm gonna have to.
If I'll be totally honest, this was going to be my C tier
Really?
episode, just because the rest of the episodes I like a lot more than this one. I understand it's like very character driven and like, it's a lot of, like the episode title says, dealing with the consequences of bad girls. But honestly, I'm always going to go back to Bad Girls before I go back to this episode. This episode is just a lot of emotion and talking through the consequences of what happened. And I feel like there's not really like a main, I don't know.
That's
it's
not a
kind of
bad
like
point.
there's not like, and it's good in a way to have episodes like this, but there's not really like, they're fighting something in this episodes besides like,
guilt.
trying to get fate. Yeah, besides guilt.
It is really cool though that they the whole thing about like Wesley, because he's kind of a nuisance.
Yeah.
And he comes in and he's like, Wesley Wyndham Price here to be the best watcher, and he's just kind of annoying a lot, and he's like infatuated with Cordelia, and which is problematic, but like the show points out that it's problematic and weird. But and then here he kind of acts on his own, and it gets people mad at him and stuff like that for because he tries to send Faith away, right? And she escapes. So that's another interesting little thing in it, but I totally see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Would you?
Well, I would say it should be like high A tier.
High A, not B?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, because if Hunter has an S tier and you have in your A tier, it's gonna no matter what be.
Well, I was gonna say if I put it in B, but then again, his S tier would still probably bring it up to A.
Yeah, I would say probably.
Yeah, A works for it, I think.
Probably if I rewatched it, I would feel like it was A tier.
Yeah. So, well, Hunter did have to step away, and I think we've covered consequences, so we can move on to the next nomination, and we're back to Carrie for her second nomination.
I'm not gonna go in order because I feel like you might want to cover this one.
You go with whatever you want to bring up.
Hunter's
sorry, guys.
No, that's okay.
Did you hear what we did?
I was listening to it on my errand run. Sorry about that. I didn't really hear the ending though.
So Carrie, we discussed the episode a little bit more, and then Carrie said that initially this was her C tier episode.
Okay.
Then she said she's fine with it being an A, and I am as well, because we discussed it a little bit more, and like what you said was very good, and then what we were also discussing is that sometimes when you have an episode that just has characters fighting over what to do about something, like an issue. And I love kind of how they make it a big deal. Like, it's not like, oh, you killed a human. And I feel like maybe a lesser show would have just said
he was in the way.
Yeah. And then, or just end it in that one episode and just have everything be fine after that. But there's actual consequences for what happened, and there's a whole episode on it. So
Yeah.
So we ended up both agreeing on A for it.
Okay. Yeah, that's perfectly fine. All right, so I believe we're back on Carrie, correct?
Yeah. So I'm gonna go with Bad Girls, which is the one right before
Okay.
this. I really like this one as well. This would be A tier for me. This is kind of where Buffy and Faith are at their most like getting along. They're kind of their friendship is strongest in this episode.
It's fun.
It's a really fun episode because Faith's kind of like, getting Buffy, or I mean, it's Buffy's choice, but Faith is like kind of encouraging Buffy to skip school.
Is this where she draws the heart with the arrow?
Yeah.
Yeah, and then like Buffy jumps out the window during like lunch period or something.
During a class,
and then they slay some vampires. There's a time gap. They go to the bronze.
Dancing, yeah.
Then they start stealing.
Ooh,
bad. Then they get caught by the police and break out of the police car. And then we've already alluded to it because we talked about the consequences episode. Faith kills a guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then they defeat the villain too.
Yeah.
That happens as well. But I think this one is just, it starts off as a really fun episode and then it gets really dark. I don't know. This one I think is really great. It's always the one when I think of like Buffy and Faith's relationship, and even when I think of this season, this is often an episode I think the most about. So it's A tier.
So you also, like the last episode you were critiquing, you were talking about no main villain. Did you even talk about Balthazar?
No, Balthazar is in this episode. He's the main
villain. Yeah, giant dude in a bathtub.
Yes,
basically,
man.
I was about to say he's like basically like Pearl from Blade 2 or Blade 1.
That
it's a big fat vampire.
I'm thinking
Pearl.
Of like the fat guy in Dune.
That's also another thing.
I was thinking of Austin Powers and Goldmember. I was the guy, and I'm like, in my belly.
Fat bastard. The fat guy from Dune is at least more mobile than this guy.
That's true. Suspender.
Who's talking about it next? Me or you, Hunter?
Yeah, I love Bad Girls. Which can be interpreted both ways, but okay. The episode. The episode is really good, and that ending shocked the hell out of me because I was like, oh, they're gonna fight some vampires and they're gonna be able to escape. No, like Faith just ends up killing a dude with a wooden spike. And the one thing I love about this episode is at the end when it happens, you see it happens so fast, so you can barely see it happening, and just immediately happens. But the way that like Buffy is the one who is like, we got to go, because she's trying to keep Faith out of, blaming herself too much. And then, I also love how Buffy just realizes it as the stake is going through. It wasn't like she warned her pre-hand. It was literally like a split-second decision of like, she wasn't sure either if it was a vampire or a human. And when she found out it was a human, it was too late. So now they're kind of both in this together, and which kind of shows the whole idea of like Faith, while being, different from Buffy, can manipulate people into doing things that she would do, which actually comes in a lot for the rest of the season. So I would, definitely put this in A tier.
Nice. Yeah, I was gonna do Bad Girls. What you gonna do? No, it's like anyways, I wanted to do that, but this is a great episode. You guys said pretty much everything. I do think we see it maybe a little differently, where you're like, it was a split second, nothing Faith could have done. but for me, it's a solid 1 Mississippi.
Well, I think Buffy and Hunter, you've seen it more recently than us. I think Buffy
Yeah, today actually.
right beforehand.
I'm
And
sorry.
I think Buffy catches on that it's a human right beforehand and tries to stop Faith, but it's like not really in time.
I thought it was right when the.
Yeah, I remember it might have been like on a backswing, but I think it was like in time enough. Maybe not for like kind of like a what do you call it? Like a reaction, like a reflex, like a people's reflexes are different from when they hear something, it hits the brain, and then they can stop the action. But like I think what the episode's trying to show though is that Faith maybe heard her and then still went through with it, but I do see that it wasn't like a deliberate, what are you talking about? He's a vampire. Stab. It wasn't like that.
I think it is more because they've kind of built up that Faith is a lot more like quick to
hot-headed,
impulsive.
Yes, impulsive. Yeah. And that, you know, even if, maybe I'm just misremembering this, even if Buffy did say something like, wait, hold on, or wait, stop, Faith just didn't really have enough time to like, you know, process that and how her mind works.
Yeah.
I think that's exactly what I was trying to say, but you said that perfectly.
I gotcha.
You said that perfectly because that's exactly what I think they're trying to do.
Yeah.
But because from the very beginning, season 1, when Giles is like, I need to teach you how to hone. You're not honing, Buffy. And then it's like, because she has, you know, because like Faith's Watcher was killed. So like, you know, and Wesley.
And Faith's newer than Buffy is, you know.
Very true. Very true. And so because she had this time to kind of learn to think more without acting, you know, exactly what Carrie said. So I don't even need to keep going. But it's weird because Bad Girls and Consequences could just be part 1 and part 2. Bad Girls Part 1, Bad Girls Part 2. They just titled them different things. And I think they both work super strong as that part 1 and part 2 of a thing that happens and then the aftermath of it. And people finding out and stuff like that. And I think Balthasar is kind of like a fun little thing on the side that really doesn't, you know, matter too much. The real thing is the stuff with Buffy and Faith. And it is fun.
Yeah.
But then it also shows, you know, Buffy being tempted and corrupted and to see where her line is and to see, does Faith even have a line? And, you know, you don't really know, you know, especially with how this thing goes. She goes pretty far, Faith. And we'll get more into that in other episodes.
Yeah. So
I would say
for a little while, so for a little while after Consequences, I thought they were going to keep riding that line of like, you know, is Faith just a slayer who goes too far, or is she corrupted in bloodlust? I kind of wish they like stuck with that a little bit longer, like maybe 2 or 3 episodes more, just to have that line of like, where does Faith lie? But for a little while, she was almost like a Punisher type character, where the Punisher thinks he's doing good, but sometimes he goes like too far in showing how good he is.
Yeah, I actually love, if you haven't seen Daredevil, check that out on the Netflix one.
So
Because I know there's a new one coming out, but in season 2, that was a fantastic. This is exactly Buffy and Faith was Daredevil and the Punisher. Like some of the best parts of season 2 were their conversations about morality. And this is exactly that, just earlier.
Yeah.
But and then also I do love how that episode ends with Faith going, you don't understand. I don't care. It's like, whoa.
That hit hard, man.
Great ending.
All right. Whose turn is it? I believe it's Chad's, correct?
It's mine. It's mine. And I'm going to go with the one that I wanted to do S tier and I got upset. because I thought it might not be, but it still might not be, because this is a one that I personally love so much, and I don't know how many other people actually do. And so it's a thing where it's like, you know, I'll make a case for it and I'll say why I love it, and if you don't, say where you think it should be, um, just like always. But this for me, I love it so much because it is one, and Carrie skipped it because she knows I'm going to bring this one up. It is the Zeppo, and I'm pitching this one for S tier. Just because, like, I know it is it's just a character episode, but I think it does it so well and has some of the best moments in the show, where we've had this discussion, especially letting Hunter in on like the Buffy kind of fandom. And I'm not deep into the Buffy fandom. Carrie watches other Buffy podcasts and stuff like that that talk more about this with the Xander stuff, where not everyone loves that character, and he's very divisive in that. Some of the things he does is, you know, problematic, kind of like different for the times, and just kind of like, you know, I think even Hunter said at one point, like, just kind of typical boy, but also typical like 90s boy. And I think maybe it's progressing, or I don't even know. I'm not in high school right now, but you know, sometimes he's not the best friend, and sometimes he also acts on impulse. He can be a very faith kind of character sometimes, and that's where you know, they have a certain relationship, and in this episode they have that as well. And it's a crazy episode because you have Xander going off on his own. Cordelia tells him he's basically worthless and he's not. What does he even do? And this is a common theme throughout the entire show with Xander. Like, what do you do? What do you even bring to the table? And Xander is like, you know, I'm not a Wiccan. I'm not a Slayer. I'm not a Watcher. What do I do? I'm just like, other than being a demon magnet sometimes. But Xander really shows his worth in this, I feel like one of the different sides to him, where he is always like very adaptable and just, you know, very convincing, and, you know, stuff like that. He goes on this crazy journey with his not friends, but like this weird guy who wants to raise his friends from the dead. And you know, so he just goes around with them while there's a whole apocalyptic thing happening on the side with the rest of the gang. And it's just so fun to see them doing this stuff on the side that has nothing to do with Xander. They're not even asking him for help. They're actually like, he's probably in the way to them. And I think that's probably because that's how he feels a lot of the time. And so then he goes on this other type of thing that could end up killing him and his friends and just blowing up the school. And he has to show his cool in the face of this, where there's a bomb ticking down, and he's got to say, you know, it's basically like his poker face, like, you know. And I just love when he sits there and it's ticking down, and it's like kind of like, who's going to move on this? It's a gun, like a Western, you know, gun draw type of thing. And then he's like, you know, I like the quiet. And it's just like, I don't know. It's just, for me, it's just like one of the most badass things a character does. Like, I love when Giles does his badass stuff, but this for me is when Xander does his badass thing. And the coolest thing about it is no one ever knows. Like, he keeps it a secret, and everyone's just like, you know, hey, you missed that crazy shit that went down and stuff, and he just kind of keeps it a secret. It's like the thing with Cordelia buying the dress. Like, he just kind of, he'll do things like that, and he won't boast about it. He won't act like, you know, it's a big deal, and he'll just keep it to himself. It's kind of like another side of the pack, where he's like, I'm not gonna talk about that.
There's some more positive.
More positive, definitely.
Yeah,
But,
a lot more positive.
But yeah, and also it's just a really fun episode, and I love when they do character episodes like this and there's another one in this that they do another great character thing with Willow. And yeah, so this is a personal favorite of mine because I really love Xander. And yeah, the Zeppo's just always been one of my favorite episodes. So S tier for me. What do you guys think?
Carrie, you want to start?
Sure. Yeah, if I was gonna choose a third episode to put into S tier, I think it would be this one. I think ultimately it just is a really, really fun episode. It's a very unique episode for Buffy to really focus primarily just on kind of Xander's side story. We get definitely character focused episodes sometimes, but usually the entire gang is involved in the arc. This is interesting because Xander's really off on his own, doing his own storyline, and we have this other storyline in the background that everyone else is concerned with. I don't know. This one, it's just really funny, like kind of the situation Xander gets put into. I love how the show makes fun of itself in this episode because you're seeing through kind of Xander and everyone else's eyes the side plot, like kind of Buffy and Angel fighting, like dramatically fighting, like, oh, are we breaking up? Are we together? It's the end of the world. And like, you know, that's
just out with zombies.
Yeah, and you don't like that's not the main focus of the episode. It's kind of funny seeing it from the outside. You don't even really know entirely what they're fighting about, but you kind of see like, oh, so this is like kind of like a weekly thing with them in like everyone else's eyes.
Yeah.
You know, kind of seeing like the whole apocalyptic battle from the side view. I think it's just very humorous, and I think just the main parts with Xander, like he can be a very funny character. And like Chad said, he just shows a lot of heart in this episode. And I love the end where kind of Cordelia's making fun of him and it kind of just rolls off of him because he's saved all of his friends. And
he's like, whatever.
Yeah.
So for me, I probably want to put this in S tier only because I didn't like the way the zombies, like the zombie friends or whatever, the undead, were acting and were like written, because they just kind of seemed like the stereotypical just like party jocks, but now zombie makeup. And I'm just like, I don't know if a character driven, like a Xander episode is great because I love that character. I just wish the things around him were less goofy in that way. But I probably, I mean, still like a high A tier for me. It's not a bad episode at all, but just the character drama, and then it's like the goofiness around it just doesn't add up to me.
But that's the thing, though. Definitely, I understand where you're coming from there. But that's the thing, though, is I think that's what sums up Buffy. Yeah. It's very serious and stuff a lot of times, but with goofy shit mixed in.
Yeah.
And I just love how all the humor of the people coming back and they're like, "Oh yeah, hell yeah, let's go party!"
It was like it went from Buffy to like American Pie humor in like 2 seconds. I'm just like, where did this come from?
What? Oh, by the way, because you just watched this, right? What? When they say they're gonna make a bomb, they don't say they're gonna make a bomb.
They say they're gonna bake a cake.
Bake a cake. That's it. We're gonna go bake a cake.
So, to me, I love Xander, but I think the Willow episode did that perfect balance better than the Xander.
Are you bringing that up now?
I mean, I can. So yeah, why not? I'll bring that one up. Doppelgangland, episode 16. I believe that's how you say it. Yes, I'd probably put this in A+ tier. I think this is a really good episode. I love Willow as a character. I just love seeing, how she's becoming more confident in herself. What's great about this episode is it starts off with her being a complete doormat, making, Snyder telling her that she's going to tutor this failing basketball prodigy. Yeah. Him saying, you're doing my paperwork. And what's great is that counteracts when we see the badass Willow from the different Earth, which was brought back in our earlier episode of this season, correct? The Wish. That
Yeah.
was the
Yeah.
same. Yeah. So seeing that dynamic of like Willow from our Earth is kind of timid, shy, but she's growing that out. And then here comes someone who looks just like you but acts completely different than you, who is overly sexual and who, loves being in her skin and is more confident in her ability. And what's great is it kind of shifts the dynamic because at the end of the episode, Willow does become more confident in herself, and as we see going forward, she's able to stand up to people more often. Yeah, so guys, please take over.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll go. I love Doppelgangland. This also is an S tier for me. Since it looks like the S tiers are filled, then high A tier, A plus, like Hunter said. Because this is the other Zeppo for me. This is Doppelgangland, where Willow gets to shine, and you get to see the two sides of like the full range of like Allison's acting in this. It's kind of like another. I don't think we've talked about the other episode where you get to see David Boreanaz's fantastic acting, but in this one you get to see hers, and I just love. I was kind of laughing when you were talking. It's because you're reminding me of this one part in the episode where it's Willow acting as Vampire Willow.
I love it. She's
And
so awkward.
she goes in and she's dressed in it, and she looks so uncomfortable in those clothes. And she
Dude,
goes in,
she's so skin tight. She's like, yeah, breathing. Yeah, they don't have to do that.
and right, and then Oz and stuff is in there, and she just goes in and she's like, like hi, and just like really nice, and you're just like, don't act like that. That's not how she would act. And when she tries to like give orders and stuff like that, it's just really funny.
She's so timid. And then the complete opposite of like the other Earth Willow being trapped in her clothes in the cage, having to listen to be bored to death by Cordelia. Oh, amazing.
That's right. That's right. Yeah, bored now. Yeah, that's the thing, is just to see the range from Allison is so great. She plays both of those parts so well, so you can see how Willow could become more confident later on as the show progresses, and this kind of helps with that, and because in a lot of ways, Vampire Willow is Willow when she kind of gets over being that awkward, shy person and opens up a little bit more, and or a lot more, and she's like, I'm like, really, what was it? I'm really like confident, or is like kind of gay, and
Yeah.
I just love all of that stuff where she's like finding out things about herself. And what else to say about this episode? That I love it so much, but I'm trying to remember specific little parts. It's another thing where they bring Anya back, which is great because I love Anya. I don't think she's really in it that much. But I'm gonna let Carrie talk now.
Okay. This would definitely be an A tier for me.
I remembered another thing.
Do you want to go ahead?
I just want to add the other thing is because I do this line all the time, is with Carrie, when Carrie starts to act strange or something, or she acts different than how she normally would act. Carrie, what happens is when everyone's sad because they thought that Willow's dead, and then she comes in and they go like, Willow, stuff like that, and she's like, say, you guys didn't happen to do a bunch of drugs, did you?
Drugs.
And, so I say that to Carrie sometimes when she's acting different. Go ahead, Carrie. Sorry.
Yeah, for the reasons you guys said, this is A tier for me. I don't think I really have anything else to add. I think you guys covered all of it, which is awesome.
Okay, so we will move back over to Carrie for her next selection.
Okay, so I think one of you alluded.
Can I add one more thing too?
Go ahead.
I also love how they send her back and then she immediately gets
Oh
killed.
yeah, I forgot about that.
All right, go ahead. Sorry.
I'll just
Yeah.
go with the next episode, and Chad alluded to it. It's kind of one where Angel has to act. It's enemies for me. Oh my god, we're gonna have like 1B and 1C. This is an A. I think the first time I watched this, I definitely believed that Angelus was back and was like just as surprised.
So did Hunter.
Yeah.
Dude, our chats are hilarious because I'm just like texting you guys as the episode's happening. You're just like, just wait till the end.
Yeah, this is one where Faith and the mayor decide to try to remove Angel's soul. They do this spell. It seems like to the viewer that Angel's soul has been removed. He's now in cahoots with Faith and the mayor. They kind of put on this whole thing where they kidnap Buffy. And it turns out at the very end I guess the guy that they contacted to remove Angel's soul was a friend of Giles's. And so Giles like basically had him just do some kind of spell that made it like appear like Angel's soul had vanished, or like, some smoke and mirrors. Angel actually remained Angel the whole time, and he was just playing Faith to try to get into the plans for her and the mayor, what they're doing with the Ascension. But this is the episode, where the whole gang finds out that Faith is now working for the mayor. And it's really the formal split between Faith and Buffy, where kind of there's no turning back for the rest of the season for them on this. So it's just a really good, it's like a fun episode because we kind of get we don't get the real Angelus, but I guess Angel, it does a good enough job of playing Angelus, so you kind of get that kind of sassy vampire back. I think the twist is fantastic. I don't know, it's a really great episode.
Yeah, I mean, I think I think that part of the episode is the best part. I would say I would put this A tier for sure. Even though I think like the rest of the episode is like not super interesting, but like if you didn't have that twist and you didn't have Buffy and Angel doing this little ruse, and Giles doing this little ruse, I think it would have been kind of like not that great of an episode, but everything with that stuff is so great. Because it's like a sorcerer that Giles he owed a favor to Giles, and so he cashed it in for this, and just everything to try to take down the mayor. And I just love how, because now Faith is working for the mayor, and they just need information from her. So. And you get to see the brilliant David Boreanaz acting, and he makes everyone, even the audience, believe that he is Angelus again. You're like, what? How? Oh no! And stuff like that. Like, not this again. It just happened last season. It was a whole big thing, and I'm glad it wasn't, because that would have been like so dumb if they would have just brought it back again. But
for
then
4 episodes.
And then when Faith is like, I'm the best actor in the world, it's like second best.
Slow-mo kicks in, amazing.
And exactly what Carrie said. It's just he just pulls. I love it so much. I don't have much else to say. It's just it's just one of my greatest, my favorite moments of season.
Yeah, I love how this episode opens up, where apparently Buffy and Angel went to see some sort of porn type movie,
Yeah.
or a movie that's steamier than expected, and they're walking out and they're just like, how do we discuss this? How do we discuss what we just saw? I don't know why I laugh so hard. It's just the awkward silence as they're walking out. So, yeah, vampires, right? Yeah, yeah. Let's go this way. So yeah, I definitely love this episode. So yes, it will go into A tier, correct?
I'm
Yes.
down with that.
All right, enemies into the A tier. We are on Chad next, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with what I think should probably be C. Probably be C. I think it's choices. I don't know what that smile from Carrie is, but we'll see.
I think you were trying to decide between two episodes what should be the C, and I think I was thinking the same, but maybe you weren't. Maybe you were just thinking.
Well, I was looking at the ones that we have
Okay,
left
I
just to see
understand.
what
Okay.
and to see if there's
Yeah.
no other C
Yeah.
hiding in there
Yeah.
somewhere. I mean, there was another one I was potentially thinking of, but yeah, this is the one where it's like the heist to get you the things.
Yeah.
It's weird because it's like a heist, but I also just feel like it's kind of like not that interesting of a heist. I'm always, I have to say it, it's still an episode of Buffy and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have to put one in C, I think this one, I just don't remember it. I think the best thing about it is that Willow gets kidnapped and then she could escape and then she ends up just going and reading. She's just like reading the
I
essential books.
sorry to
Um,
interrupt you.
yeah,
I actually like that moment because in
I
that
do too.
scene it shows that Willow is actually growing from experiences of like growing more confident because she's able to stand up to Faith, who is much more dangerous than she is. But she's like,
Mhm.
I'm not scared of you. You had Buffy as your friend. Like nobody, you know, can say they had someone defend him as much as you did. And even though she gets threatened with a knife and she gets punched in the face, she's able to stand up and be like, "No, I'm not taking this crap anymore, especially from you." I like the idea of it's. We're seeing more of Willow growing up and growing out of that kind of shy, timid personality.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that's my favorite part about the episode is just the Willow stuff, and just I just love when you see somebody do something you don't expect them to do, and then you go, no, but that actually makes total sense for the character. Like she
Mhm.
would sit there and want to read the Ascension books while she's there.
Yeah,
Um,
and she
and
even steals a few pages for Giles at the end.
Yep. So I don't know. It's just like thinking of one that I'm like, this one's not that memorable overall.
Hmm.
Like there's not it's kind of a necessary episode, but then again, I just don't remember super enjoying watching it each
Yeah.
time. It's just one it's not filler, but it's just like, I don't know. Carrie, what do you or Hunter, whoever wants to talk, what do you guys think?
Can I take this one real quick, Carrie?
Yeah, go ahead.
So there is one that, because it is so clear in my mind, that I would put in C tier.
Mhm.
I'd probably put choices in probably a high or lower B tier. It's I like the heist aspect of it, especially great comedic moments where like the pulley system gets jammed and Buffy's stuck upside down with the case, and the goons walk in and she's having to like fight them while being stuck in the harness. Just
That's cool.
great physical comedy. I love the Willow stuff. I'd probably put this in either high or lower B tier. I think there's enough character development for Willow, and like especially the dynamic of Angel and Buffy working together. Even though you kind of see this friction for a little while there, they're able to be such a good team. I like that aspect of continuously growing the characters forward. Carrie?
Oh man.
So-
So I don't know. I think this one could go either way for me. I honestly because we have to choose a C tier, this I think was going to be the one that I was going to put in C tier because, like Chad said, I think we have the same thought process, is that it's just not as memorable. And even the one I think you would like to put in C tier, Hunter, I think ultimately is more memorable. I think was one that still has like a good message.
Okay.
Definitely interested to hear his thoughts though, because I know there's one that we're going to differ on, and it's interesting. But go ahead, Carrie, sorry.
So this is actually the one I would put in C tier as well, because I think while there is actually some really great Willow character development in here, because I think it's also the scene where she decides to stay in Sunnydale instead of going to basically her pick of colleges. I really do love those scenes, but I think overall as an episode, like the heist is like kind of surprisingly a little bit boring. It kind of ends with this anticlimactic trade-off.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me that it was the one that if we were because we have to put something in C.
Wasn't this also the episode where we see what's actually in that box? And it's like those creepy ass spider things.
Yeah.
Oh,
they aren't used ever again. So I guess the mayor eats them.
Yeah.
But
yeah, he eats them to that monster, but
yeah. And I think there's also like beetles in there as well, like beetle-like creatures that come out of it.
Spider thing.
In the episode description, it says there's beetle-like creatures come out of it, killing the guards. Anyways, doesn't matter.
So Choices is in C tier. All right, it's on to me. Let's rip that Band-Aid off. What would probably be my C tier, and that's Earshot. Look, I love when stories have a message. I just wish they would have did something different at the end. Instead of having it be revealed as the lunch lady who was trying to poison everybody, I wish they stuck the landing of, no, this kid is seriously being bullied, being ignored, and sadly that's what a lot of school shooters feel like. They feel like they can't be seen. So the idea of like, he wasn't going to shoot up the school or whatever, and then Buffy has to stop him. It was he was going up there to kill himself, and Buffy stopped it. Which again, I'm glad she did, but I kind of wish Buffy stopped him from doing this as revenge for not being seen, instead of just tacking on. It was the school lunch lady for some reason, and that's who they stopped in like 2 seconds. I wish because the whole message of, Buffy can hear thoughts. She hears that someone's potentially going to, shoot up the school the next day. I wish they would have had Buffy had this whole speech that she gave him, and she takes the gun from him, and then the cops roll in. Just that one moment could have changed a lot for this episode for me personally, because it would have hammered home that message a little bit more.
I just was going to say, I really want Carrie to take this away because I know she knows like stuff about the actual episode. And
so I think context is very important for this episode, because you are thinking in a mindset post Hunter. You especially, even more than us, grew up with a lot of school shootings. I will say this episode actually did not air originally. It only aired in reruns, and that is because it was set to premiere exactly 1 week after Columbine happened.
Oh shit.
And Columbine really, at least in the US, there were obviously school shootings before Columbine, but Columbine was like the first really, really major one in the US that really, I think, kind of set off the rest of them. I think that context is important, because I think and so obviously this film was written and filmed and ready to go before. I think a good month before Columbine actually happened. I think that context is important, because at that time school shootings definitely weren't as prevalent. Columbine had not happened yet. And I will say Columbine created kind of this false theory that kids were being bullied, and that's why they were shooting up schools, and that was actually just based off of some random stranger. There's a really great book. I can't remember the author's name. I think it's David something, but it's called Columbine, and it goes through kind of how the bullying line of thought around Columbine came to be. It was really just from some kids when they were literally fresh off the shooting thought, oh, well, I think those kids were bullied and that's why they shot up the school. And it was really because they at least a psychopath and not to say that that's not why maybe some kids do that. But I think that's a lot of the context for this episode is, I don't think that was the message. I think probably for the writers of the show at that time, the kind of more important message and something that would have been actually more relevant to kids at the time, because it was pre-Columbine technically, was kind of the suicide aspect. And that's the thing I think really strong in this episode is, Buffy goes up there to stop Jonathan and is like, all set basically just to beat his ass down and be like, why are you shooting all these people? Just because you're in pain doesn't mean you can, inflict it on all these other people. And he's really just there to shoot himself. And I think Buffy's speech to him in that moment saying, everyone else is in just as much pain as you and it sucks, but like you're worth it and you're here. I don't know. I think that's really important. That's why to me, this one, I think I would still actually put this maybe in like a B tier. Because I don't know, just because we have to put one episode in B tier, I guess.
We already did though.
No, we didn't.
Oh.
So I guess I would put it in B. A lot of times I think the message is really strong, and then maybe the rest of the episode where Buffy's kind of I don't know, having to hear all these thoughts and stuff, and that's kind of what informs her about how to best convey to Jonathan that like everyone actually feels this way. It's not just you. And I think that's an important message for people. I understand your point, Hunter, especially growing up post Columbine, post school shooting, how like, for them to kind of skip over, the school shooting part would be a little bit like off of the landing. It is the lunch lady thing is basically just comical. I think it's kind of fun that Xander is the one who stops her and how he stops her. I don't know. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I really like this one because I do think that because we're talking about all the major serious parts of the episode, making it sound like the most biggest downer thing ever. Which in a way it is, because, we see Jonathan show up, throughout the show, pretty much. And he's always kind of just there. He's the guy that later will give Buffy the award, after saving his life and stuff like that, right? That happened after. Yes, that happened after. But before, we do just kind of see Jonathan just there, and like people actually only point him out sometimes to make fun of him, or like, wait, that guy, or that's. And I feel like there's so many people that actually feel this way, unfortunately, that they just like don't have any friends, and they just feel kind of useless. We had another episode like that with Marcy Ross, but this goes a different route than Jonathan just kind of like disappearing. But Carrie and I just saw a fantastic musical called Dear Evan Hansen, not the movie, the musical, which is fantastic and covers a lot of these themes of, people just feeling like they don't belong. There's no one there for them. If they fall, no one's going to be there to catch them, kind of things like this. I just think that really just hits when you find out the twist that Jonathan's not actually trying to hurt anyone. He's trying to kill himself. Did you want to say something, Carrie?
Yeah, it's also, this one ties into the prom episode because it is, and to viewers at the time, they wouldn't have really known this because the episode didn't originally air in the season. It only aired in reruns. But Jonathan is the one who gives Buffy the umbrella at the prom. Yeah. And that's kind of like, with this episode, that kind of is like very meaningful, I think.
Absolutely. And I don't Yeah, Jonathan's a great character. He's very important to the show. Danny Strong plays him, and he's a very big like producer now of
And
TV
writer.
He just wrote Dope Sick,
And I
right?
think he wrote Empire. I think he was
Yeah,
like the showrunner,
so-
and he won a bunch of Emmys for that. And like, it's really
very
crazy.
very talented guy. I love seeing Buffy alums go and off and do great things. But yeah, like Earshot specifically, I totally hear what Hunter's coming from, and I do, like Carrie said, I think there's a little bit of a divide based on like generation and just how you think about these things. I don't think Hunter's wrong at all about like what he thinks could maybe make the episode better. I think it could be a very divisive episode. I really like it. I like a lot of the comedy. I just think the demon that pierces Buffy and gives her these weird powers that she doesn't want. And there's even like comedy in the beginning where they're like, what part of this demon are you gonna have? And then Willow's like, is it a boy demon? And they're like, this is gonna get awkward. And then it turns out she can hear thoughts, like we've alluded to and talked about. And just some of the thoughts are kind of funny, where it's like, Xander's just thinking about, naked Buffy, and it just gets really awkward. Just
Giles and Joyce.
what explain, I can't remember.
Oh, like Buffy reads their
Yes!
notes on
Right.
was it band candy night that they had sex.
And that's at the very end of the episode.
Like-
Doesn't he walk into a tree or something, or a pole?
Oh yeah, because Buffy talks to him about it.
And she like casually mentions like, pervert or something like
Yeah.
that. And it just like, that's another thing like with their relationship that we just adore. Just like little moments like that with them. It's just so sweet. But yeah, like Buffy hearing, I love how it transitions, because Buffy in that moment is kind of like Batman, or not Batman, Superman, where you can hear the thoughts, and it goes straight into comedy, definitely. And it ends in comedy, like we just said. But there's also, it goes into, she's hearing like pain from people and people being upset and it hurt and things like that. And that's how Superman is he hears everything, and people are like, Superman's too perfect. Superman, and it's like, yeah, but he hears everything, like everybody's pain and just all this crap that just everybody thinks, because he has the super hearing. You gotta learn to block that out, I guess. And it's just really kind of creepy too when Buffy hears like, I'm gonna kill everyone, and you're like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
So it's just a really interesting episode. I think it's fun. There is the same. Isn't this the episode 2 where Willow's interrogating and Jonathan peed in the pool, or is that a different episode?
Oh man.
I thought that was
I
this
think
episode.
It might be in like season 2 though.
Hey
Hunter.
guys, sorry about
Did you hear any of our conversation?
I did, and it kind of changed my mind on the episode. Hearing
Okay.
the background of like this airing before Columbine, because I didn't know what time it was set, so I thought it happened after Columbine.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, if it did, then that whole school shooting motif could have been used to delve in a more powerful message. But knowing that it took place beforehand and what they were trying to say, I do appreciate this episode more than I did before.
And I think it's interesting how when you take extract it from like a specific time and place, and you think about it in the context of things, how it can kind of change how you feel about a thing. Is this the episode where Willow's interrogating people and Jonathan peed in the pool?
Yes, because Willow is interrogating people. Like they're all interrogating people throughout this episode. And it is funny that like the one guy that looks like he could attempt something like that, but being like alternative and things like that, like you would stereotypically think of. Like he's the guy who is the news reporter, and he's just so worried that Oz is going to hurt him because of what he said about his band. He's like, and Oz just goes, "Yeah, fair enough. You're not wrong in this."
That's the thing about Oz specifically is he's just so down to earth, and he's just
I've never seen Oz get pissed off except for one time this season.
You'll see more from Oz potentially like that, but there's just also things like in the I'm not going to say anything specific, but things next season. There's a specific Oz line where he goes, "I don't know what's going on." It's so odd.
Oz is Oz. Oz and Xander are like the audience, and I love it.
Yeah.
So have we decided where?
I
Earshot's
would. You said Earshot C. I don't know if that's changed. Carrie said
I
B.
can't put it in C, so I would do probably lower B.
Okay.
Higher.
It's gonna go B, but I would probably put it A. So, but I'm fine with it being B.
And I realized just said B, so we have something in B tier, and I think I like the rest of the episodes in the season a little bit better than this.
I don't think we have to do a B, but you know, if
I feel like we gotta have like one. We gotta make an attempt.
We gotta make it even somewhat.
Then fine. And I keep forgetting that we're actually ranking these because this is gonna be hard. But
oh yeah,
we'll, 10 A's and at least 1 B. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And you have these written down, like from the last episode too?
Yes, I do.
Oh, you're fantastic.
Okay, because I need to know where we put everything.
Yeah.
Okay, so a recap right now. In S, we have Helpless, The Prom, and the Zeppo.
Mm-hmm.
In A, we have Consequences, Bad Girls, Doppelgangerland, and Enemies. In B, we have Earshots. And C, we have Choices.
Okay, and we still have a two episodes left.
Yeah.
Let's get through those, and then we can talk about the ranking.
Okay.
Yeah, 2 episodes left, which is the final episode, correct? Final 2 episodes.
Yeah, I think we could just talk about these 2 and say where we would put both of them.
Yeah, so Carrie's up next.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if we want to talk, I would put both of these in A tier. I think it's a really strong finale to this season. It wraps up a lot of this. It wraps up all the storylines of the season. You know, we get the final showdown between Buffy and Faith is stabbed.
Great final fight.
Yes, fantastic. Kind of what we've been building up to the whole season. And last we see, Faith is in the hospital. At the same time, she has poisoned Angel. And I think Buffy stabbed her specifically to get her with the intention of getting her blood to heal Angel. Faith falls down. Buffy isn't able to actually get
the ultimate FU move, by the way. She's like, I'm going to die, so you can't have my body.
Yeah. So Buffy allows Angel to drink from her. You know, Angel
scene was so intense.
And that's the next episode where that starts.
I thought we were just talking about.
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah,
okay.
Sure.
Talk about it all.
Yeah, so that's kind of the, you know, Faith being stabbed is the end of the first episode, kind of the cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And then so Angel drinks from Buffy. Buffy, I think, also has to go to the hospital.
Yep.
Because Angel, you know, gets a little too crazy, can't stop himself. But ultimately, Buffy's okay in the end. And then all of this, you know, it's graduation day. All of the students come together.
That was so cool.
To fight the big bad. It's such a cool reveal, you know, that you kind of see the setup, but you don't really know what's going on. You know, you see the mayor starting to give his speech. And then once he kind of starts to go into snake form and like things start turning dark, the entire student body or the entire graduating class, you know, kind of rips open their gowns. They all have weapons and they all take part in this really gigantic fight. It's really fantastic. You know, the mayor is blown up by Giles.
Yes.
And at the, you know, all of our favorite characters, our main characters, survived the battle. I'm not sure if it's revealed if any minor characters die in this episode.
Snyder dies.
Oh, well, Snyder gets
and a few other characters die. Like classmates.
I don't know. Do we see that? That I don't want to spoil anything. I'm just saying, just in case.
I just watched the episode. I don't remember, besides Snyder, anybody else.
In the description, I'll say, because it is the mayor does turn into the demon Olvicon.
Which those effects, man, were
Not
so
great.
bad.
Hold up.
It's like, what does he say when it blows up? Like, or something like that.
Dude, I don't know. I love it because of how bad it looks. It's not horrible.
Mhm.
Like, it's not like it ruins the episode for me. I just love how you see the green screen behind this person, and it's clearly not moving.
Yeah, it's still like, kind of, I guess they didn't really have the budget to go all out, like MCU level, whatever.
Yeah.
But it does, I was just going to say in the thing, it does say Olvicon kills Snyder and several other students. So, but I don't know, like, if Carrie's right in it, they don't actually show them on screen.
Yeah. Well, I'm just thinking of specific.
Yeah, I gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
So they're not named characters.
Yeah. And then, Angel kind of leaves through the smoke, kind of without saying goodbye. Which, I mean, I guess he says goodbye to Buffy beforehand. It's like,
well, he technically warns her. He's like, "I'm not going to say goodbye." So.
Yeah.
And that's a thing too, though. I think is because of Angel and his whole brooding nature. Angel, it's too hard. Goodbyes are too hard, and so I understand.
Mm-hmm.
I get it.
And this marks where Angel leaves for his own TV show in Los Angeles.
This is where it kicks off, right? So we're not going to see Angel again.
We won't say anything.
I'm going to say they were on the same network. Crossovers maybe were popular at the time.
Okay.
There are crossovers, and they're fantastic. But, I'll get into it real quick if you don't mind.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, Carrie wrapped up everything perfectly. There's one other thing that I thought was pretty awesome that she didn't mention because Buffy and Faith end up in the same hospital at the same time, and the mayor's there visiting Faith, and he tries to like smother Buffy in the hospital, and Angel has to save her. And I thought that was like pretty crazy because it's like, I don't know. Yeah, like you could seriously, when the Slayer's vulnerable like that, you could kill her just by smothering her. She doesn't have like super lungs, I don't think. But
I don't think so.
But no, like everything Carrie said, perfect. I love all of the drama between Faith, Buffy, Angel. Faith poisoning Angel and then jumping off, and then it's like, whoa, okay. Just even the thought of like Buffy, Buffy loves Angel so much that she would try to like kill Faith and like get her blood from her. It's like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, the only thing I will say, I don't like how quickly Buffy came to like, I'm ready for murder now at this point. I mean, I get it. It's to save Angel, but I would like more moments of just like her reflecting about what she's about to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And then it doesn't really pay off at the end with her being like, because when Faith kills somebody, what's great about that is it gave them both an episode to reflect on what happened. And I think if anything, this would destroy Buffy even more because she, chastises Faith for that, even though, Faith does make a big turn. You would think Buffy would actually like take this more to heart, even though it is Faith. She did murder somebody. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely interesting kind of character stuff. I'd have to watch it again to see any like little nuances, but I mean, they're like fighting the whole episode and stuff like that, and so this is like a big fight, and then she gets stabbed, right? So.
Yeah. Well, then, and I know Buffy, and I can't remember if it's in this episode, but Buffy has her own justifications, right? Because she's basically thinking that Faith is obviously human. I think to us, it's like a bit hypocritical, but in Buffy's mind, it's like Faith is a Slayer. She's not going to be stopped by like the regular police.
Great point.
You know.
So it's and then even when you go to other shows like Supernatural, they have a lot of different questions about what is a monster, what is a thing that you kill, and what's a thing that you don't kill. And Buffy explores that, Supernatural explores that. What's up, Carrie?
Supernatural, you know, they try to save the humans as much as they can, I would say, up until like season 7 or 8, and then they just are just using that.
They just don't care. They're the Winchesters. They don't care.
But yeah, like you know, it definitely great episode. I love all the drama. I love all the Buffy Faith Angel stuff.
I love the ending line with Oz being like, "Guys, take a moment. We survived high school."
Yeah, and that
Oz line. I'm just like, I finally made it. I'm not being held back.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I think Joss wanted. Is like the, you know, everything's a metaphor for surviving high school and surviving being a kid and adolescence and all that type of stuff. So yeah, that perfectly sums it up. The effects are not the best sometimes, but I think everything else from a story perspective works so well that I would definitely put these two in A.
I actually love that in our A tier we have 2 episodes that really could be part 2s. One that literally is a part 1 and part 2, and then you have Bad Girls and Consequences that also tie in, like one to another.
Yep.
All right, so now.
Did you talk about the episodes, or we covered everything, you think?
Oh no, yeah, I love the episodes. Great send off for the season. I love the comedy that's adding into it without making it over the top. I will say, the mayor is one of my favorite villains so far, only because, or the villain that I loved to be entertaining by, because it's the whole idea of like he's trying to be a mayor, and he's also a bad guy, so he has like these weird lines, like he done like people's feet on the table. He's a germaphobe, but he's literally this immortal demon who can't die. And he's like,
it doesn't make any sense.
He hates germs.
I've never loved the mayor, but I know a lot of people do. But I really like the mayor. I don't know if we did a Buffy Big Bad ranking. We should do that at the very end of the stuff. Once Hunter's finished, because we don't want to reveal all the big bads right now.
I feel like the kind of the master and the mayor are kind of like the very classic big bads.
Yeah.
Angelus a little bit too, but Angelus
is my favorite.
You know, it's kind of like he's also, you know, Angel, so it's kind of hard to be like, oh, straight villain. But like Mayor and the Master are kind of the classic straight villain big bad.
And both are really well written when it comes to like, they're not just evil bad guys who are gonna say evil bad guy shit. Like they have more personality. They'll crack jokes, like giving Faith a PlayStation.
That's right.
Or just like, you know, again, not liking germs. So the funniest line by Willow or by Cordelia is, we'll get Ebola and put it on the box and write Ebola on the box and try to take it away. Just so many jokes and so many like great moments that come from this season. So let's do our overall ranking from episode 1 to episode 22.
All right, so we're gonna go around now, and we're each gonna say what we would put at 22, and then go to 1. Right?
I kind of need a recap on what we put in our C tier.
For the last episode.
Yeah.
Do you have it written down what we did for last episode? From
I don't, but if you give me a second, I can mute myself and look it up real quick.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I feel like it's easier to do it like structured like that, like within the C tier, and that's our 22 and 21. And
like we would look at C tier and then like kind of pick from there and just kind of rank those, unless we pull an audible. I think it's okay if you want to pull an audible if
What's
your mind.
Audible?
That's like in like if you're so in like football, if you have like a play that you're gonna do, and then someone calls an audible, it's where you change the play mid play. So someone calls an audible and they're like, "Know what? I know the last time I put this in B, it's now a C for me, and so I put this at number 22 or whatever you wanted to do." So I'm just like writing down these now so I can like see all of them in one spot. But yeah, like when we're talking about big bads, I don't know, it's weird because I know like, Buffy has like a fandom, like a lot of people like some are more popular than others. But because I'm not going to give away who's coming later, but
and some are less popular than others coming later.
yes, exactly. And so the mayor is not the least popular big bad, but
Not by far.
big bad, by the way, was a term popularized. I don't think invented, but popularized because obviously you have like the big bad wolf and stuff like that from
I think it was popularized by or originated by Buffy as Big Bad, meaning like this overall season villain
of a television show.
Yeah.
So they took the term like big bad wolf, but then they said big bad. So now every single time you hear somebody talk about the big bad of a show, the big bad of She-Hulk, the big bad of The Boys, whatever show you're watching, that was popularized and coined with Buffy. So there you go.
So I'm pretty sure I couldn't get to the point in the video where we said a C tier because it was like an hour long. I'm pretty sure we put Amends in one of the C tiers.
Oh man, I don't know if that sounds right.
Amends is not going to be a C tier for me. But what we can do is we can go around. We can even start with me and you, Hunter, and Carrie can go third.
Yeah,
for like 22, so we can move this along a little bit faster, and then just like what we would put in our 22, and then I'm actually going to, because this is all 22 episodes, so whatever. And like we were all kind of saying that the second half is stronger than the first half. So I imagine the 22 is going to come from the first half, but Hunter put like Earshot and C. So I don't know if that's going to be his 22, but let's see. Hunter, what would you put in 22 overall?
So you're right. I'm going to go with the first half. So I'm going to go with The Wish at 22.
The Wish.
To me, it's a good episode. It's a fun episode, but it's not strong enough to hold up to any of the other fun episodes that also have a point and kind of continues the overall story along.
Okay. I'm not going to go with that for 22. I think that's a fun episode. I'm going to go with Beauty and the Beasts for 22.
I think that's what we actually did put in C tier last.
You might be right.
I'm nominated for it.
I would agree with Beauty and the Beast.
Okay, so
this is going to be very difficult.
It is. So 22.
22, Beauty and the Beast. I'm fine with that.
Yes. Are you writing that on your big ass board?
Yeah, I got it. Don't worry.
All right, so 22 Beauty and the Beast. So let's see. I'll go with 21. Oh, it is really hard. It's a really great season. I'm gonna go for 21. I'll go with Dead Man's Party for 21.
Okay.
Well, Carrie, what do you think?
That's fine.
What do you think, Hunter, for 21?
Yeah, I'm fine with Dead Man's Party at 21.
Perfect. All right. So now we'll go to
again the same problems I had last week. I have this week. I think they were too hard on Buffy, but.
So, what do you think for 20, Carrie? Do you have an idea?
I'd say maybe Choices.
Oh yes, yeah. I would agree. Hunter, what do you think about Choices at 20? What would you put at 20? I mean, because I would
put at 20, but
wait, what is it? Sorry,
I would put Earshot at 20,
okay,
and then Choices at probably 19. I think Choices had a lot more memorable scenes to me personally.
Interesting. Yeah. I would go choices at 20. I'm not ready to say that I would like to put Earshot at 19.
Okay.
But I don't know what I would put there right this second. Does anybody else have a 19 that they would throw down?
Let's see. 19.
Maybe
I'd probably put Gingerbread.
I was kind of just thinking Gingerbread actually
I think I'd be good with that too. Yeah.
at 19.
Yeah.
Okay. And then for 18, because we were throwing around stuff like The Wish, Earshot.
I would put Earshot and then The Wish. I kind of like The Wish more than Earshot.
Okay. And I'm also looking at the other episodes to find out.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with that because if there's two people saying Earshot should be a little lower, even though I like it a little more, I'm fine with that being 18.
Okay.
And then we could, if you guys want, we can do 17 be The Wish.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine with me.
Let's see.
16.
Do you have a 16 nomination, or does Hunter?
I would say maybe like Anne or Amends.
I'd be fine with Anne. I like Amends more than Anne.
Oh, that's right. Amends
Personally,
was like your one you wanted.
That was my S tier. I'm not
so I would
saying
say Anne then.
I'm not saying that you guys have to agree with me on stuff.
Yeah, so 16, I'd be fine with Anne.
Okay. 15. I'm somewhere around. I'm starting to think about like stuff like Faith, Hope, and Trick, which I know I like less than I think other people.
Faith, Hope, and Trick.
Which one's Homecoming again, Carrie?
Slayer Fest
yes,
98.
That's right. Okay, Slayer Fest.
I would put Homecoming at 15.
Homecoming at 15? What do you think, Carrie?
That's fine with me.
Okay, 15 Homecoming.
14.
Okay, so the next ones, because I know people were a little bit down on Amends than I was. So I would say, like, you know, even though I would put Amends a lot higher, Amends is out there. So there's Amends, maybe Band Candy.
I feel like Revelations would be a good one.
Let's see.
Revelations 2, I do like that one a lot, but Revelations could be a good 14 maybe. Revelations, Band Candy, potentially.
I would say Band Candy.
Okay.
Or 14.
That's fine with me.
Oh, and Faith, Hope, and Trick. So Faith, Hope, and Trick and Revelations, I would say maybe coming up.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
All right, so which one's better? Faith, Hope, and Trick maybe is better than Revelations?
Yeah.
In my opinion, yeah.
Okay, so let's do Revelations, then Faith, Hope, and Trick.
Yeah, so 14 is Band Candy.
Okay.
13 is Revelations.
Okay, yep. And then 12 is Faith, Hope, and Trick.
Faith, Hope, and Trick.
And then the other ones that I was looking at to come sooner after that would be like throwing ones out there like Lover's Walk.
I probably want Lover's Walk to be at least number 10, just because it's one of my favorite characters. That's a personal reason.
Yeah, I agree. I love all the Spike stuff in that episode. Carrie, do you have another one? That
maybe like Enemies or.
I actually would be down for Enemies to come around now.
Okay. So 11 is Enemies, and then 10 would be Lover's Walk.
What do you think, Carrie?
Did we do Amends already?
Yeah, I think Amends was like 13 or something.
Yeah, I would say maybe then Lover's Walk.
13 was Revelations. 14 was Band Candy.
So
Where's
12 is amends?
Is amends already on there?
Faith, Hope, and Trick is
Okay. So we haven't done amends yet.
We haven't listed amends yet.
no.
Okay, so I'd say maybe
Amends and then Lover's Walk?
Okay. At
yeah.
10? Okay.
And Lovers Walk at 9.
So 8. I would put the Zippo at 8. Because me personally,
I'm not going for that, but if Carrie
I would
agrees.
say considering that was in our S tier and we had 4
Yeah.
S tiers.
Our S tiers are the Zeppo, the Prom, Helpless, and what was the other one?
I'm trying to remember what was our one from.
last episode, I believe
It wasn't amends, was it?
I think we've already done the whole first half already. Yeah, we already have put in the whole first half of the season.
We didn't do amends yet.
We have?
No, we just did amends and Lover's Walk. You're right.
Yeah.
So we
So
have.
we're at 8 now.
Okay, so then I would go for 8. I would go Bad Girls or...
Did we do Enemies already?
Yes.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, 11.
I would go maybe Bad Girls.
I would be down for that.
Yeah. That's on me.
And then I would say maybe Graduation Day Part 1 and or Part 2.
Yeah, I'm trying to think which is better.
I think
I would say Part 1, and that's only because the CG, and again, I know it's not their fault. It looked kind of cartoonish at the end.
Okay.
I think Part 1 ended off with a really good dramatic moment between.
I do love the whole Angel leaving thing. That moment is really great, but I wouldn't fight you on this.
Yeah.
So
we could do
Part 1.
Well, which do we want to put lower?
I would be okay with doing Graduation Part 2 lower and then Graduation Part 1 right after it, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's right.
And then the ones we have left are the Prom, Doppelgangland, the Zeppo, and Helpless, right?
And Consequences. So we have 5.
Oh, Consequences I would have put lower. So I would put Consequences now.
At 5? I'd be fine with that.
Right?
Yeah, I'd be down with that, yeah.
And then I'd be okay with either Helpless or the Zeppo. Wait, no. Maybe Doppelgangland?
I would say Doppelgangland.
Okay. For 4?
Yeah. And then maybe the Zeppo.
Hold on. Doppelgangland for 4?
Mm-hmm.
Then what's the Zeppo, the Prom, and what else?
Helpless.
Oh, right. Okay. My thing next would be I'd be okay with Doppelgangland. I would say Doppelgangland, Helpless, the Zeppo, the Prom, but obviously that was my 2 S tiers. But I'd be okay with Doppelgangland, the Zeppo, Helpless, the Prom. That's how I would rank it.
What do you think? That's how I would rank it, but what do you think, Hunter?
See, me personally, I like Doppelgangland more than I do the Zeppo. Only because I feel like out of the 2, I feel like they gave Willow more development, I would say, kind of, and didn't really have a goofy kind of storyline behind it. It felt more like it was a Willow-centric episode where she's gaining more confidence, which is what I like about it. But
so we're talking about top 5 here. I'd be okay with the Zeppo at 5.
4. No, it would be at 4.
Yeah, 4.
Okay. Okay. So then I'd be fine with Zeppo at 4, Doppelgangland at 3, Helpless at 2, and the Prom at 1.
I would be down for that.
Okay.
I'm okay with that, yeah. So
Zeppo
cool. Is at 4, and then Doppelgangland at 3?
Mm-hmm.
All right, hold on. And then 2 is
Helpless.
Helpless and the Prom? Okay.
Yeah, I think so, if you agree with that.
That worked out better than I thought it was going to.
All right. So, guys, we just ranked all 22 episodes of season 3, and I'm going to go through it in order. From 22, we have Beauty and the Beast, 21 Dead Man's Party, 20 Choices, 19 Gingerbread, 18 Earshot, 17 The Wish, 16 Anne, 15 Homecoming, 14 Band Candy, 13 Revelations, 12 Faith, Hope, and Tricks, 11 Enemies, 10 Amendments, 9, I can't even read it, Lover's Walk, 8 Bad Girls, 7 Graduation Part 1, 6 Graduation Part 2, 5, oh my god, my writing needs so much work. Hold on. Why can't I read that?
Consequences.
Consequences, there we go. 4 The Zeppo, 3 Doppelgangland, 2 Helpless, and 1 The Prom.
Oh.
Yes.
What a season!
Yeah.
I can't wait to get back into season 4. Yeah, so we just ranked every episode of Buffy season 3. What do you guys think of the overall list?
I think we did a really great job. It's a really great season. It is the final season we're seeing them at school.
High school.
High
Yeah,
school.
high school.
That's what I meant. I meant high school. Ross always said he never meant this to just be a high school show. He meant it to move on, and we get to see them now go into different phases of their lives. And it gets very interesting. And I love a lot of stuff. Season 4 itself is a little divisive.
Okay.
So I'm very interested to hear Hunter's thoughts on his journey. I would encourage you to watch the show and not try to read what other people say.
Yeah.
Because I'm interested to hear, because Hunter has some really great thoughts when he watches this just first time.
Which, by the way, sorry, our group chat, I apologize for commenting too damn much, but
Never.
It's so fun.
We love hearing from you
because
about Buffy.
we'll sit there and we're like, oh, Hunter's like at that part, but he's not at that part yet.
Yeah. It's great when you have a thought and then you're like, oh, I love this, or something like that, and then we're like, oh, Hunter. I had like another friend.
Faith is a good example of that, because I was like, maybe it's an accident. No.
And I had like another friend who loved a certain like couple in the show. I'll say it. He loved Jenny Calendar and Giles together, and then I was like, you're gonna get your heart broken soon, buddy.
Don't do it. Don't have faith.
But yeah, no, I'm very excited to cover season 4 next time. I'm not saying next week, because Hunter's got to watch the show. But the next time we cover Buffy, because it's a different kind of season than you're used to. So can't wait to hear your thoughts and revisit this in our minds again.
Yeah, I'm wondering if this might wait till like November after we've passed October to get back into Buffy, but I think it'll just
probably
because we do have a lot of Halloween planned episodes.
Yeah,
that are being talked about backstage as well.
Yeah, and it'll be good for Hunter to have kind of like a month to watch this at your leisure. Maybe even if you get sucked in again and you end up watching a lot more episodes than you planned,
maybe do it earlier.
We could do like a back-to-back maybe with season 4. We'll find out. Just go at your own pace and let us know your progress, and we'll schedule it.
Yeah, so I can't wait for next week's episode, because you guys finally are going to listen to some Ice Nine Kills. Welcome to Horrorwood, which has been an album that has been stuck in my head. Like, I'll just randomly sing a random song out of nowhere, and it's usually from that album. And what's great about it is it's all things horror from a horror lover. Like, the lead singer, Spencer, is a huge horror fan. Like, someone who grew up with horror, someone who knows a lot of the ins and outs. He's even had, like, people from the horror community in his videos. Like, even on the songs himself. Like, he had Ari Lerman, who played young Jason in the first Friday movie at the end, he had him on guitar playing the song with him. So it's just really cool how like it's deep into like the horror culture with like this really cool metal type music. So I'm so excited to see what you guys think of it.
Yeah.
Cool.
So yeah, next week will be the Silver Scream 2 Welcome to Horrorwood album song ranking. So guys, if you did enjoy this, hit the like button, subscribe to Nerd Entertainment Network down below.